Hello, welcome to another episode of Forgotten Cemeteries, Pacific Northwest. Today, we're at the Ramsey burial plot, located in St. John's, Oregon, Multnomah County. Alternative names include Ramsey with an A, Fred Ramsey, Frederick Ramsey, and Ramsey's Farm. So let's go meet some of the local residents and hear their story. A little history about this cemetery. Not gonna lie, anxiety's a little high on this one. It's not in the safest of areas, but try to be careful and get out of here alive today. History wise, it's an odd one. Appears Fred Ramsey, who we'll discuss today, a grave was dug up at one point and the skeletons of 4 Indian women were found. This led to a rumor back then that he had 4 Indian wives. Overall, there's only a couple of burials here: Ramsey family members, 2 Titus family members, and the Native American women from my readings. Establishment date is listed as January of 1895, the year of Fred Ramsey's death. There is another cemetery close to here, but it's owned by the Gatton family, and you can only visit by appointment apparently. It's all locked up. That family donated a small area of their land for this burial ground, from my understanding. I also read that the specific spot was part of the John Loomis donation land claim back then. As we can see, there's only one headstone in this cemetery. Apparently there used to be like a ball on top of the on top of that headstone in front of us, but it fell off at one point and it just laid there for years until someone just rolled it away randomly, so who knows what happened to that. Overall, just a weird cemetery documentation wise. It seemed like things were just not sure. It was just all over the place. I'm not sure we'll truly know all the names or races of individuals buried here, or ever know. Today we'll learn of Fred Ramsey's journey to Oregon and his sad ending, hear the disturbing resume of a man who has an Oregon county named after him, and did Fred Ramsey truly have 4 Indian wives like the rumors say, or is it just another cemetery myth? Alrighty, in front of us is the headstone of Fred Ramsey, or Frederick, who was born in 1825 in Fayette County, PA. Couldn't find anything on his youth for the most part, except he was a pioneer of 1844 to Oregon. He traveled with the Gilliam family wagon train. Oh boy, that car's loud. A pretty well-known family in Oregon in my finds. So much so, they had a county named after him in Oregon, Gilliam County. One individual among the Gilliam family was a man named Cornelius Gilliam. Listen to this guy's resume: sheriff in Missouri, captain in the Seminole War, ordained minister, served on the Missouri legislature, slave hunter, responsible for running the Mormons out of Missouri, elected head of the 1844 wagon train, but later resigned due to disagreement over his leadership style. Was labeled as kind, but would easily fly off the handle when questioned, stubborn and uneducated, and finally known to go off on tirades which include violent threats towards others. So, nice guy. Anywho, one day he was pulling on a rope to remove it from the wagon, and the problem was the rope somehow wrapped itself around the trigger of a gun, thus discharging it. Cornelius was killed instantly. So if you'd like to travel out to the middle of nowhere in Oregon and visit the Upper Well Spring Memorial, they have like a little memorial there to the pioneers and Cornelius apparently. Back to Fred in front of us. Unlike Cornelius, he was labeled as a kind man. One story mentions he bought a horse for another man who was traveling to Oregon on the Oregon Trail by foot, so pretty giving guy. In October of 1844, Fred arrived with a crew in Oregon City, and they got to work in the area cutting down trees. There's sort of a comical story, well, not very comical if you're the individual, of Fred's co-workers missing the tree, and he hits his leg with an axe, apparently clean down to the bone. It was like visible. Apparently Fred sort of fainted at the sight of it. Don't blame him. Fred did serve in the Cayuse Indian War in 1848 as 5th Sergeant in Company A of the 2nd Oregon Regiment Volunteers. I also read that pretty much every pioneer headed the California Gold Rush during this time, but Fred tried to hold out, kind of a noble thing, but eventually did travel down. Continuing on with Fred's story, he did own land in a cabin just down the road here back in the day. It's now known as Chimney Park, which appears to be a popular dog park for Portlandiers and St. Johnians, if that's a word. Apparently a well-respected guy who was known to respect you, sort of greeted you like a soldier in each time in passing. I also learned that he hunted with U.S. Grant at one time. Owned a few properties, a couple of boats as well, since he liked hunting and fishing, and also mentioned he preferred this area back then. Not because of the scenery, but because of the uncontaminated water to make his whiskey, so it must have been nice. Another interesting read was that he liked the Native Americans more than the whites, and a brief mention that several of them turned up in the cemetery, as mentioned before. So I have to wonder if the rumor that he had 4 Native American wives is even true, or maybe he just built a friendship with the local tribes and they were welcome to be buried here. Towards the end, Ramsey was the wealthiest person in St. John's, owning 3 city lots in Vancouver and several other properties in various counties in Oregon. However, January 2nd, 1895, neighbors in the area noticed that flames rose from Ramsey's house across the river. They made an attempt to cross the river, but I guess the river was so high during this time, and ice was like blocking the path. It was just everywhere. The next morning, they did make their way over to the house and found it in ruins, charred down with the body of Fred, unfortunately. Apparently, he was a bit of a drinker and was known to smoke in bed, and he fell asleep a lot. And this was often reoccurring that ultimately led to his death, unfortunately. He was apparently burnt so badly that he didn't have arms or legs, so a small casket was fabricated. His pet dog is said to lay beside him. That's not all that was laid in the cemetery long ago. Mortar and pedestals were also buried here. I'm not sure if that has Native American ties. Someone was just, I don't know why they dug them up. That was a weird thing. And then they were digging around and they found those. Just strange, like I said. My overall feeling is that because Fred admired the Native Americans so much, they may have just been welcome to be buried in the cemetery. I don't know if I'm buying the whole 4 Native American rumors, Native American wife rumors. I think he just was like a friendly guy and was open to friendship with just about anyone, given his qualities and his history. Alrighty, time for the tour. The bus stop and a electrical box. And one of the odder cemeteries we'll visit. Be careful if you visit, take a friend, as always, like I always like to say. Some of these odder visits. Lonely headstone of Fred Ramsey, and it does say pioneer of 1844. I guess there used to be a big ball up there. I thought I read that his brother is buried here on the other side, because there's, you know, that plot burial spot there, and then there's one here. There's supposed to be 2 other individuals with markers here, but I'm having trouble seeing where they are. That would be of Merritt and John Titus. I believe they were very young. One was like 8 or 9 years old, and the other one was 18 months old. I honestly couldn't tell you where they might be. Find the Grave has like 2 little markers with crosses, if I remember right. I'm not seeing that. I guess we'll just roam around. Like I said, just gotta be a little careful in this area. I came on Thanksgiving Day. I figured it'd be quiet traffic-wise, because it sort of has a reputation here being very loud. So happy Thanksgiving if you're watching. We'll roam around here, see if we see anything. Somebody was hanging out here at one point. I think we'll get out of here before they return, huh? Yeah, nothing back there. So I'm not sure where the other 2 markers are of those, of the infant and the child. But one of St. John's hidden gem cemeteries not a lot of people know about. An odd one. Anyways, thank you for watching. If you have any other recommendations for cemeteries to visit in Oregon or even Southern Washington, feel free to comment below. Have a good one. Have a good Thanksgiving. And it's 34 degrees this morning, so winter is coming. Have a good one.